This video discusses the correct and complete installation of your GPS fleet tracking devices. There are two types of devices, the VFS-plug and the VFS-wired. This video covers both, but some elements in this presentation are device-specific. While we suggest watching the whole video in its entirety, we've included the times of the respective sections in the table of contents for easy navigation. In this video, we'll be discussing what to do prior to device installation, installing the VFS-plug, troubleshooting the VFS-plug, installing the VFS-wired, troubleshooting the VFS-wired, how data should look in our system, tips for ensuring sustained durability, and how to contact us for support. You'll receive a welcome email that contains your login, a USPS device tracking link, and other information. Your device is shipped via USPS priority mail and will typically arrive with your regular mail within 2 to 3 business days. The information you need to log into the application is listed under the Login Information section. An example of that section is displayed on the screen. Your devices come already activated. As soon as the device is installed in a vehicle, you'll be able to begin tracking that vehicle. The first step before device installation is matching our system with the device. There are 3 ways to do this. Choose whichever of the following works best for you. The first way is by assigning devices at random and input info during install. Depending on your fleet size, you could have just received many of our devices. If you have someone that can relay information to you while you're installing the device, simply grab any device and go to the vehicle you want to install it in. While installing, have the person look up the device by typing the IMEI number and simply relay the vehicle information to the person on the other end. If you have an internet-enabled laptop or tablet that you can bring with from vehicle to vehicle, you can also input it yourself as you go. Let me show you an example. You first log into the account, click on Devices. You then input the IMEI number into the IMEI field and hit Search. A shortcut that we find saves time is simply inputting the last 4 or 5 digits into the IMEI field and hitting Search. The device that matches that IMEI number will now be displayed. Click on the Edit button next to the user and enter the information into the fields. By default, the fields are name, year, make, model, and license plate. You can edit these by selecting the Edit Fields button, but please know that the first field is what the device is called across the platform, and we do not recommend changing the name field. The second way to match the device with the software is by assigning devices at random and then inputting the information into the system afterwards. You would print out a list of devices through our system. Similar to the above scenario, simply select a random device and go to whatever vehicle that you wish. The person would install the device and just write in which vehicle they went to on the sheet. The rest of the information can be filled out in the application when it's more convenient. This is a fast way to do this since you wouldn't have to sort to find specific devices over and over again. To print a list of your devices, click on the Devices tab and click the Export Devices link on the right-hand side. A CSV will be generated with the IMEI numbers in it. You can tell the installer to just fill out this spreadsheet as he's working. The third way is to predetermine which device matches what vehicle. To do this, simply click on the Devices tab. Then, click the Export Devices link on the right-hand side. A CSV will be generated with the IMEI numbers in them. Populate the vehicle information and direct the installer to place the devices in the vehicle you have prescribed. The next section is installing the VFS-plug. First, locate your OBD port and plug in the device. Using a zip tie provided by VFS if possible to minimize possibility of device tampering. Let's see how easy it is to install this device.
Once you find the port, you can just simply plug the device in place. If you're worried about employee tampering, we provide a custom zip tie that you can put around the port, install device, and secure zip tie.
Next, turn on the vehicle ignition and wait 3 to 5 minutes for the first report. Log into our application, click on the applicable vehicle and go to the readings report. You want to verify moving readings are coming into the application. Refresh the page every few minutes. You then want to verify ignition is picking up correctly by turning the engine on and off every 3 minutes at least twice to complete the process. Let's walk through this. Click on the vehicle you want. In this example, we'll select Tony Stevens. Then click on Readings. You'll see the readings such as engine on, engine off, moving, and idle, and the time that the action was reported. It's important to know that the location listed here on the left are actually latitudes and longitudes that the system reports. Our system then interprets these coordinates in a process called reverse geocoding and gives those an address. Test your readings against the actions that you're doing to ensure that your device is installed properly and reporting directly. Our system reports every 2 minutes when the vehicle is turned on and every 60 minutes when the engine is turned off. It's important to know that any change in status is triggered by the device, so a particular event is accurate to the second. You can also look at the map on the right for a visual representation of where an event is taking place. You should be able to logically follow the vehicle's path and the corresponding reading. These are the 3 most commonly reported issues when installing the VFS-plug device and their solutions. The first is no power. If no lights appear lit on the side of the device, check the fuse powering the OBD port. Here's where the lights are on the device. The second issue is if the device is not reporting. If this happens, verify that the OBD port isn't located near metal that may be interfering with it getting clear GPS reception. Lastly, if there's no ignition, please test the device in another working vehicle or with another working device in this vehicle to ensure that the problem is indeed with the device. We're now going to cover the installation of the VFS-wired device. Please note, if installing the VFS-wired device, it's important to have someone with experience working on cars, a mobile audio specialist, or mechanic, for example. Most clients already have someone who they know and trust with their fleet, but if not, we can help you locate someone in your area to assist you. Some installers will even come to your location for an increased cost. Here are the steps. Attach the 3 wires as appropriate using a voltmeter to verify proper voltage. The ignition wire is yellow, the ground wire is black, and the constant power wire is colored red. If you receive our 5-wire harness, please know that the orange and brown wires are not utilized at all. These can be taped back and put out of the way. There are 3 locations on your vehicle where VFS recommends you install the wired device. The best location is the key cylinder since it's easy to locate and you have ignition. 2 other options are to place this behind the radio or using wires coming into the fuse box. Ensure that if you decide to do this, you don't plug directly into the fuse box, but rather tap into the wires that are leading into the fuse box. Once this is done, choose the best location to install the device and connect all 3 wires. Use a voltmeter to verify exactly 12 volts is going to the constant connection and no voltage is going to the ignition wire. Turn on the vehicle ignition. Verify exactly 12 volts is going to the ignition wire using a voltmeter. Wait 3 to 5 minutes for the first report. Log into our application, click on the applicable vehicle, and go to the readings report. Verify moving readings are coming into the application. Refresh the page every few minutes. Verify ignition is picking up correctly by turning the engine on and off every 3 minutes at least twice to complete the process. Let's walk through this. Click on the vehicle you want. In this example, we'll select Tony Stevens. Then click on Readings. You'll see the readings such as engine on, engine off, moving, and idle, and the time that the action was reported. It's important to know that the location listed here on the left are actually latitudes and longitudes that the system reports. Our system then interprets these coordinates in a process called reverse geocoding and gives those an address. Test your readings against the actions that you're doing to ensure that your device is installed properly and reporting directly. Our system reports every 2 minutes when the vehicle is turned on and every 60 minutes when the engine is turned off. It's important to know that any change in status is triggered by the device, so a particular event is accurate to the second. You can also look at the map on the right for a visual representation of where an event is taking place. You should be able to logically follow the vehicle's path and the corresponding reading. These are the three most commonly reported issues when installing the VFS-wired device and their solutions. The first is no power. If no lights appear on the side of the device, ensure that you have a firm connection. Check the voltage and verify that the fuse harness is intact. Use a voltmeter to verify exactly 12 volts is going to the red constant wire. Here's an image showing where the lights are supposed to be seen on the device. Sometimes in direct light, these lights can be difficult to see, so please take that into consideration when troubleshooting. The second problem can be if the device is not reporting. Check to see if the device is label side up, there's no metal in the way, and the vehicle has clear view of the sky. Lastly, there may be an issue with not reporting ignition. Ensure that the ignition wire is secure. Use a voltmeter to verify that exactly 12 volts is going to the ignition wire when the engine is turned on and no voltage is going to it when the ignition is turned off. Choose a different wire if you're not able to obtain this consistency. The next portion is showing you how data should look in our system. We'll start with showing you the beginning of a day, a change in status, and how to click on locations to show routing. Log into the software, click on Reports, click on the vehicle you want. In this example, we'll select Tony Stevens. Then, click on Readings. Click on View More until all readings are listed. You'll see that the first day's reading was at 12:22 with an engine off reading. Every hour it continued to report as off until 8:54 when he turned the ignition on. The place where he's located turning on the ignition should be the same as the place where he turned it off. This is when his day started. When you click on the location on the left-hand side, you can see where this action took place. Once again, once a vehicle is turned on, the system starts reporting every 2 minutes. He idled for the next few minutes, perhaps filling out a trip ticket or pre-road inspection, and began moving at 9:10. You'll see where he is, what direction he's moving on the map, and how fast he's going. And this is what the system is supposed to look like when operating normally. You'll see readings such as engine on, engine off, moving, and idle, and the time that the action was reported, and you'll be able to follow them on the map. There are a few times when you'll see data on these reports that you do not understand. These are when you have no ignition readings, no stop readings, loss of GPS, GPS drift, and false idling events. Let's go over what these look like and what they mean. The first potential confusing data is when the device only reports engine off readings while the vehicle is moving. This means that the system is not picking up ignition. As you can see, there had to be movement because the reported locations are different. The driver was here, here, and here. However, for each reading, the software says engine off. This means that the device is not reporting accurately. Although this was covered earlier, let's go over basic troubleshooting for this again. If you have the VFS wired, ensure that the ignition wire is secure and only getting exactly 12 volts when the engine turns on and no power when the engine's off. If you have the VFS plug, please test the device in another working vehicle or another working device in this vehicle. If you're still having issues after checking these, please contact client support. The second potential confusing data that you may see is that the device only reports engine on readings while the vehicle is stopped. This means that the device is wired hot. In this report, you'll see that there's nothing reporting but idling throughout the entire day. Obviously, a person isn't going to be sitting idling in one location for several hours, so we know that something is wrong. We can look at the map and see that this is at a warehouse and there was no movement since this was a weekend. But the engine never reported as ignition off and continued reporting every 2 minutes. This means that the device was wired hot and that even though the car may be shut off, the GPS is still getting the signal that it's on. This means that your vehicle was wired improperly, and to fix this, you'll have to recheck the wiring. To do this, ensure that the ignition wire is secure and only getting exactly 12 volts when the engine turns on and no power when the engine is off. The next potential confusing data you may see is when readings have the same timestamp and location in various readings. This is an indication of loss of GPS signal. In this report, you can see that although there are several different event types, the location and time are still displayed with the same time. If you have multiple listings of the same time and same location, this typically means that you're experiencing loss of GPS. Something external to the vehicle is obstructing a clear view of the sky. For example, a vehicle pulled into a parking garage, or something internal like a metal clipboard is sitting on the dash, or the device has shifted onto its side so that the device can no longer get a clear view of the sky. In this scenario, it's safe to say that the vehicle is parked next to this location or when indoors. This is not a tremendous issue given that the situation will usually resolve itself as soon as your device can get a clear view of the sky by moving outside. The next potential confusing data is when the vehicle appears to make small movements while stopped. This is called GPS drift. Over time, as satellites continue to circle the world, you'll be picking up new signals. Even devices that are currently stopped can have small variances where it's being reported as being located. You can see that this vehicle is stopped. However, if you click on the 4 locations on the left, the location moves slightly and the map shows a different location. His vehicle did not move from its original location slightly on the map over a period of time. The vehicle was not moving. You're correct, just slight variances in the satellite signal. The next potentially confusing data scenario is when the device shows idling while a vehicle makes close stops. These are called false idling events. Before we show you what this looks like, let's make sure you understand what our software considers an idling event. An idle event occurs when there are 3 readings over a 5-minute time period when the vehicle is on, but no speed above 0 miles per hour is being recorded. Some scenarios that may generate a false idling report include stop-and-go traffic on a busy highway or catching some red lights back to back. Let's look at this scenario. This person obviously moved over that time, although the report says idle. You can tell by looking at the map. He stopped when the signal was recorded, and then he moved. However, by the time that the next signal was recorded, he was stopped again in traffic. Since time had elapsed since there was no movement recorded, the system records this as a false idling event. You can look at the map and replay the locations and times to learn why and where a person was idling and if it was a true idling event, like a parking lot, or a false one, like the scenario above. The last thing we'll discuss in this section is how to know when a device stops reporting into the system completely. VFS has created an icon so that you can easily tell if a device isn't working. An exclamation point is next to the data. As a reminder, in the Locations tab, you can see Tom's last location, his last event, and the duration of that last event. You see an exclamation point to the right. This means that it's been greater than 10 minutes if moving or over 2 hours if stopped that the device last reported. A few possible reasons this may occur is that you have no power to the device, a poor cellular coverage area delaying updated readings, or currently have a blocked GPS signal. This exclamation point is powerful because it gives you an instant way to see if something is inhibiting accurate recording of your device. VFS is part of the GSM network. One of the really cool tools is included here as well. You can see the cellular coverage map that our provider offers. If you know someone was in a strong coverage zone and headed into a direction with no coverage, that may be able to explain why a device stopped reporting for a while, letting you know that there's nothing wrong with the device itself. Here are some suggestions VFS recommends implementing to maximize the life of your device. When switching vehicles, start the entire process over again. Verify the device and assigned IMEI in the system are what you want them to be, and follow the steps above to test the devices after installation to ensure everything is working correctly. If a vehicle is to sit for more than 3 weeks, schedule a time to go out in the interim and just crank on the engine and let it run for a few minutes so it doesn't drain the battery. You may want to set a maintenance task for a reminder if necessary. Lastly, if it's ever necessary to jumpstart your vehicle, please remove your device prior to doing so, or you endanger overloading the device. VFS prides itself on offering best-in-class client support. If you need any additional assistance or have any questions about VFS, we're here for you. VFS believes in the importance of offering world-class customer support. We offer many options to choose from. You can browse through our knowledge library by logging into the application and clicking on the Support tab. And also, you can see other training videos. This is also where, if you want, you can open a case. We'll respond within 1 hour during normal business hours, or by 10 a.m. the next workday if outside of those hours. Lastly, you can always simply call us at 1-800-746-5170.